Good morning, Kahal Kadosh, Erev Shabbat Kodesh, Perashat Hukat, corresponding to the 9th of Tammuz, Friday, the 12th of July, 2019. The Lighthouse Torah Project live video feed, לעילוי נשמת דבורה פייגה בת שמואל, and לעילוי נשמת אורה דבורה בת שמואל, and for the רפואה שלמה of Menachem Mendel ben Sarabatia among the Holim of Am Israel. Amen. The iTorah.com, Shidduchim for Nehamadina bat Hanabatia, Eliyahu Chaim ben Esther, Sarah Simcha bat Sofi, and Rachel Penina bat Jenny. The Edmond J. Safra Synagogue, I believe, לעילוי נשמת העסקן הציבורי, Adolfo Safdie ben Bahie, Alav Shalom, that today happens to be his yortzeit. So we dedicate the breakfast and the class לעילוי נשמתו. Amen. Perashat Hukat, one topic that we did not touch across this perasha is that in this week's Torah portion, not only we are remembering and learning about the passing of Aharon HaKohen, but we also in this week's perasha, we talk about the passing of Miriam HaNevi'ah. Miriam HaNevi'ah, if you remember back in Sefer Shemot, in the beginning of Sefer Shemot, Miriam HaNevi'ah actually was responsible for keeping an eye and, in a way, saving Moshe Rabbeinu and connecting Batia, the daughter of Paro, with the mother of Moshe, Yocheved, to be able to nurse Moshe, and this way Moshe Rabbeinu, Baruch Hashem, was protected actually from being an infant. And the Pasuk tells us, ויבואו בני ישראל כל העדה מתברסין בחודש הראשון, וישב העם בקדש, ותמות שם מרים, ותיקבר שם. The Pasuk tells us, Am Israel, as they were traveling, they arrived to, or they were in a place called Kadesh, and this happened in the month of Nisan. If I remember something that we learned many years back, Miriam HaNevi'ah actually passed away, if I'm correct, on the 10th day of Nisan, which later on we'll learn that that 10th day of Nisan was actually Shabbat HaGadol, back then in the moment prior for us to leave Egypt. And some of the Mefarshim say that that's a reason why we don't remember Shabbat HaGadol as the 10th of Nisan, but we remember Shabbat HaGadol as being the day of the week where the miracle happened. If you remember, Bnei Israel were commanded on the 10th of Nisan, Bikhu ish sele betabot sela bayit. They had to go to the Egyptians, ask them for the lamb. The Jewish people will keep the lamb for 4 days and then will slaughter. Other reason why Shabbat HaGadol is given the celebration as Shabbat is basically to remind us that the zechut of the Shabbat is what protects Am Israel throughout life, throughout our history. So we'll talk about Miriam HaNevi'ah. Miriam HaNevi'ah, if you remember a few weeks ago, in Perashat Veha'alotecha, I believe we come across the very famous incident how Miriam, Chas v'Shalom, was punished with leprosy. Why? For the fact that she made a comment about Tzipporah, the wife of Moshe Rabbeinu. And the Pasuk says, Batamot Sham Miriam, Batikaber Sham. She died there and she was buried there. Rashi explains that don't think for a moment that the fact that the Torah does not describe to us how Miriam HaNevi'ah passed away, she merited to leave the world in the same fashion as Moshe and Aharon. How Moshe and Aharon left the world? Rashi says, mitat neshika. In English, there is an expression called the kiss of death. And usually people use this as a very negative connotation, but this sentence or this concept of the kiss of death is actually a heavenly gift to the neshama of Tzaddikim, how they live the world. That Hashem gets close to them and the neshama lives. Different when, God forbid, Hashem's agent, Samach Mem, goes to the person and takes the neshama away. And the pasuk says, Af hi beneshika meta, Rashi says. Hashem also is the one in charge of her soul. Why didn't the pasuk says, Batamod Miriam al pi Hashem, seni'ut? Seni'ut. Not to speak about the concept of kissing and a female and a godly relationship, she'eno derech kavod shel ma'ala. Fascinating Rashi. But I saw something very interesting before we go back to the relationship of Miriam and Neviah's passing and the mitzvah of para aduma. So I saw this earlier today, and then I'm going to show you a little movie. Stay tuned. So the pasuk says, "Batamor sham Miriam batikaber sham." Miriam is buried there. Where are we now? In the desert, right? We are in the 40th year of the desert, and the pasuk says she was buried there. So Sefer HaTorot, which is a book of history that goes through the channel, the history channel of mankind, obviously of Am Yisrael, Miriam kevura be'ir ha'imahot. Miriam is buried in the city of the mothers. Now, where is the city of the mothers? I was there 2 weeks ago. סמוך לטיבריה, ששם קבורה יוכבד, ציפורה באלישבע. Because there is buried Yocheved, the mother of Moshe, Tzipora, the wife of Moshe, and Elisheba, the wife of Aharon HaKohen. As I'm talking now, I'm going to keep this recording going, and I'm going to pause the other recording, and I'd like to show you a movie. 30 seconds movie. Give me a second, because I was in this kever. And you have no idea what it is. It's in the city of Tiberias, next to a condominium, Mehila, no, next to a beautiful synagogue that someone from Brooklyn sponsored. So I'd like to show you this, and I hope that I don't bore you with all these things that I share with you, that comes many times from a personal level, but I think that it's important to live through life, to live through the beautiful lessons that the Torah teaches us. This is again the Kinneret from a different
1 second.
perspective. Okay, I'm going to put it in the screen.
Here.
Right there, right there. You see it? Kivrei ha'imahot.
Elisheva, the wife of Aharon HaKohen, and Abigail, the wife of David HaMelech.
What did we just learn now? She said, Nikveru shama Yocheved Tzipora be'Elisheva. So here in this sign is missing one name. According to the Sefer HaTorot, is missing Miriam HaNevi'ah. I wish I knew this when I was there. But sometimes, as Shlomo HaMelech says, Davar ve'ito ma tov. You know, somebody asked me, Shabbat Shalom Mevorach, somebody asked me, Rabbi, the only thing you do in Israel is go to Kevarim? No, I went to shul every day. I went to the kotel. I went to kosher restaurants. I went to see family. But that was not the priority. The priority was a spiritual trip. You know, some people connect with the tzaddikim. Some people connect more. Some people connect less. You know, somebody says, Rabbi, you should become a tour guide. I says, I don't need to become. I already am. Anyways, so comes the Eden Sion and ask a question. But it says, how can you say that Yocheved and Miriam specifically, it's buried in Tiberias if according to the Pasuk says that Miriam passed away in the desert, Batikaber Sham, and she was buried in that location. So you know what the answer is? Shehe'alu et aronah le'eres Israel. They carried the remains into the land of Israel. Now we have a whole question here. We all know that back in Perashah Shelach Lecha Anashim, the Perashah of the spies, there was a gezerah against Am Israel, that Am Israel regretfully will pass away during the 40 years of the desert. What happened with the ladies of Am Israel? Did they also die or not? So comes here the Pirush, and it quotes El Rashi from next week's Torah portion, She'al HaNashim lo nigzera gezerat meragelim. It says, since the complainers and those that cried were men, so the gezerah did not apply to the ladies. And we need to know one thing, that the ladies of Am Israel, they were holier than the men of Am Israel. I know men may not like to hear this, but there are two incidents that support this statement. Number one, the Egel. Remember the Egel? Aharon HaKohen says to the men, go to your wives and tell them to give you the jewelry. And we all know what happened. Men died, ladies did not die. Last week, we have a complicated situation. The wife of Korah, who buried her husband, and the wife of On ben Pelet, who saved the husband. And now we have this Rashi. And it says, שלא מתו נשים כלל במדבר, באף אם הגיע זמנם למות. According to some opinions, the ladies were gifted the gift of life to be able to live through the desert and to go into Eretz Israel. Why? Because they had this love to Hashem, to the Torah, and Eretz Israel, that for them dying in the desert will have been a disappointment for their life. And it says, an additional opinion says that other opinion disagrees with this, and it says no. It says that Miriam HaNevi'ah passed away, but Ikaber Sham. Other opinion says, what's the meaning of Sham? He says something very deep. But I'll give you an introduction. Remember that Bnei Israel, during the 40 years of the desert, experienced 3 mega miracles. The man in the merit of Moshe, the water in the merit of Miriam, Mehillah Aharon, and the Ananei Kavod in the merit of Aharon HaKohen. The water, Miriam, the man, Moshe, Ananei Kavod, Aharon. Met Aharon, nitbatlu Ananei Kavod. Met Miriam, nitbatel hamayim. It says, the moment that Miriam and Aharon passed away, which both of them happened in this week's Torah portion, these 2 miracles stopped. Later on, they were renewed in the merit of Moshe Rabbeinu. So you know what it says here in the Rehovot HaNahar? And it says as follows, that Shemiriam meta bemitat neshika, this is a hidush, that Miriam passed away by Hashem taking away her neshama, ולא היה הענן פולט אותה. The anan, the cloud of glory that was in existence after the passing of Miriam, because Aharon HaKohen was still alive. We know when Aharon HaKohen passes away. Rosh Chodesh Menachem Av. And Miriam passes away in Chodesh Nisan. That's already 5 months. So there is 5 months that the Ananei Kavod are alive. And it says, Tum'at met metame dafka, hamet al yedei malach hamavet. The concept of a body becoming tameh, meaning to say becoming impure when the body is dead, right? It's only applicable when the neshama left the body through the malach. But when the neshama leaves the body through a Kadosh Baruch Hu, like Moshe, Aharon, Miriam, Abraham, Ishaq, Yaakov, these great tzaddikim, there is no tum'ah. And it says, Batikaber Sham Hakevura Hayeta Toch He'anan. We don't understand. Miriam is buried, or was buried according to this, into the Anan, into the clouds. We don't understand. Usually for us humans, burial means what? You make a hole in the ground and you put the body. But tzaddikim is a different league. And with this being said, perhaps now we understand why Miriam is buried in Eretz Israel. They transfer the remains, like the remains of Yosef HaSaddik, like the remains of the Shevatim. Where the Shevatim died? In Egypt. All of the tribes of Israel passed away in Egypt before the beginning of slavery. As the Pasuk says, Bayamot Yosef bechol echav vechol hadorahu. Only upon the passing of Levi, which was the one who lived the longest from the children of Yaakov Avinu alav shalom, only then they started with the slavery. Not this trip, but in other trips, I went to visit Yehuda, Shimon, I believe, Binyamin, I'm 90% sure, Dan is very close to the kever of Shimshon, that I spoke to you about him in the past. And there are many other Shevatim that are located. How did they get there? And you have the testimony, by the way, of great Hachamim going all the way up to Rabbeinu Haim Vital and Rabbeinu Ha'ari, which were these great Mekubalim who had this GPS, spiritual GPS, to determine what a kever was. Can you imagine? Yes, the passing of the Shevatim, more. Rabbeinu Ha'ari, no, 500 years. Baruch, Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam, Shehakol Nihiya Bidbaro. And not only that, once Am Israel carries the remains of each of the Shevatim, they need to be buried. Where they were buried? Probably, and this is me just talking, in the area where the Shevet had ownership. For example, Yosef HaSaddik, I was never there. You need governmental permission, army is sakana. You were there, Hazaku Baruch. In the city, before the troubles, in the city of Shechem, right? I think they call it Nablus, right? Nablus, okay? And why Yosef is buried in Shechem? Because this was the gift that Yaakov Avinu gave to Yosef, the city of Shechem, that he purchased from Shechem ben Hamor. You understand? But again, this is how Tzaddikim arrived to their location wherever they are buried. The thing is that some of these things are so far. We're talking about 3,300 years ago, more. They passed away before before the slavery. So we're talking about at least 3,500 years ago that they passed away. Anyways, because she was buried next to the other Imahot. Be'er Miriam, yes, it's linked to the Kinneret, I think, right? And I trying to remember, I'm trying to remember if I have it here in my videos that I took. Yes, I have it. Be'er Miriam, the well of Miriam, is also located in Tiberias. I'm trying to remember if this before this kever or after. I tell you that Be'er Miriam, I'm 90, right here, in the next to the kever of the wife of Rabbi Akiva.
We came across the kever of the wife of Rabbi Akiva. She was the daughter of Kalva Savua, the one that Rabbi Akiva merited his Torah to his wife. She's the one who actually blessed Rabbi Akiva and encouraged Rabbi Akiva to go and learn Torah. As the Gemara writes, Sheli v'shelachem shelahi. My Torah and your Torah of the students belongs actually to her. And that's exactly what the Gemara in Ketubot writes. Okay? Special prayers. Fine Shidduchim. This is an antique Sefer Torah. Okay. It does not say how old is this. Based on the condition of the parchment, it must be several hundred years old. Very interesting.
Okay, Rabbi, what happened to you? Next, here.
This is a symbolic rock, I like to say. If you see the water constantly piercing the stone, finally will make a hole on the stone. And this was the statement of Rabbi Akiva concerning Torah learning. This is something special. Also in the gather of the wife of Rabbi Akiva.
Okay. If you want to do this in person, let me know. So we plan it. Be'ezat Hashem. God willing. Should be on the works. A trip of spiritual magnitude to Israel. God willing. Hopefully after Pesach. That the weather is nice. But anyways, Rabotai, everything comes together. Miriam, Aharon, and Moshe. Each one on the way, each one. And that's why the next pasuk says, Belo hayamayim la'ida. The next pasuk after the passing of Miriam says, now we have no water. Vayikahalu al Moshe ve'al Aharon. And now the kahal, Vayare ba'am im Moshe. Now they start fighting. Again, another mahloket. Belama be'etem et kal Hashem lamut shama nahnu b'irenu. Why did you bring us to die in the desert? And we go on and we regretfully come to the unfortunate incident of Moshe Rabbeinu hitting the rock. The famous incident which is found in today's parasha, discussing what Moshe Rabbeinu did. Borei Olam says, Kach et hamate, and the pasuk says, Vayaro Moshe et yado, vayach et hasela. He hit the stone, the rock. And I'm sure we have questions. Borei Olam says to him, Kach et hamate. Now we have an opportunity to do a miracle. Benatata mema bedibartem el hasela. Talk to the rock. Borei Olam is telling Moshe, talk to the rock and water will come out. But what the pasuk says later on, Yara Moshe et yado, Moshe Rabbeinu lifted his hand, Vayach et hasela bematehu pa'amayim. And Moshe Rabbeinu hits the rock twice. So it says, an interesting question here. It says, first, I need to go one pasuk with your permission. One pasuk that illustrates frustration from Moshe Rabbeinu. The pasuk says, Vayomer lahem, Moshe Rabbeinu says to them, Shim'una hamorim, Shim'una hamorim. Listen to me, rebels. Haminasela hazeh nosi lachem maim. Will I'm going to bring water out of this rock? Obviously, the Targum Unkelos says, Sarbenaya, Sarbanim. Yani, you are very negative. For any matter, you make a big deal. In Greek, this means shotim. Shotim, not with taf, that means to drink. Shote means full. Morim, haminasela. I'm going to bring, so some mefarshim try to say that Moshe Rabbeinu, in this pasuk, called out names of Am Israel that was not supposed to say. And in a way, there is a Mishnah in Pirkei Avot that says how much a person needs to be careful with anger, especially in a position of leadership. Im hacham hu, chokhmato mistaleket. If you are a hacham, the wisdom leaves you. Im navihu, nevuato mistaleket. If you are a navi, a prophet, the prophecy leaves the person. And the short answer is why, or the short question you may be, why? I think the answer is that anger doesn't allow the brain to think and to function properly. I saw once a picture of how does the brain looks when everything is calm, and how the cells of the brain look when the person is excited, agitated, screaming, and upset, etc. Also, Moshe Rabbeinu, being the ultimate and great leader of Am Israel, calling Am Israel these types of names are also a problem. And we know very well, based on the book of Shemuel and based on Perashat Pinchas, but Shemuel for sure, and I said this the other day, when Shemuel came to appoint the sons of Ishai to become the kings of Israel, the king of Israel, the first one was disqualified for Kaas. He had an anger management issue. He was a great Talmid Chacham. He was eloquent, he was intelligent, tall, strong, great warrior, but a short fuse. And although all these titles and adjectives are beautiful to have, but a short fuse in a person's life, meaning to say, somebody that explodes rapidly under chaos, under anger, in a position of leadership could be dangerous. And that's why he was not approved. I'll talk about Pinchas, although we have plenty what to say about him next week and the week after. But a minute, Pinchas. Pinchas saves the day in Perashat Balak at the end. Perashat Pinchas begins with God signing a deal with Pinchas. God signs the deal. No human signed the deal. Hineni noten lo et beriti shalom. I'm giving you a covenant for peace for eternity. I ask you a question now. Why, if this is what's happening in Perashat Pinchas, why wasn't Pinchas given a position of leadership among Am Israel? The next time that we speak about Pinchas is when Yoshua bin Nun, after the passing of Moshe Rabbeinu, sends two Meragelim to the land of Israel, Caleb ben Yefuneh from the tribe of Yehudah, and Pinchas the son of Elazar. Why doesn't the Torah gives Pinchas that now has an agreement with Hashem directly? That's what the pasuk says. Hineni noten lo et beriti shalom. God says, I'm the signature in the document. You don't have to notarize it. You know what some of the Mefarshim say? That Pinchas, although he saved the day, but he took an extreme position in the face of an adversity and a situation surrounded by adversity. I need to be very, very careful in what I'm saying now, because we're talking about Pinchas, but we need to remind ourselves one halakha. The halakha says, Kol ha'bo'el aramit, kana'im pog'im bo. Any man, any Jewish man that is being seen, that is physically intimate with a Goya, it's a problem. Halachahi ve'en morim ken. This is the rule. But if someone asks and it says, what should I do that I see a Jewish man with a Gentile lady? Don't do nothing. Although Pinchas executed a couple, and that was a different time, different situation, but the halakha is not so. The halakha is, don't do nothing. They're already doing the sin. What are you going to achieve? Talk to him to do teshuvah. Not to be involved with goyim. Not to be involved with goyot. So this reaction of Pinchas, how holy and great was, but for leadership, it's an extreme reaction. And I apologize if I'm sounding that I'm saying something against Pinchas. But let's go back to Moshe. What happens? Vayarem Moshe et yado. Moshe Rabbeinu lifts his hand, vayachet hasela, and he hits the rock, bematehu, with the staff, pa'amayim, twice. Vayeseu mayim rabbim batesh ta'ida u'b'iram, and a lot of water came out, and the nation was able to drink, and the animals were able to drink as well. So right away, the question is, why did Moshe Rabbeinu needed to hit the rock twice? That's a question. And it says, because the first time, only drops came out. Why drops came out? Since Hashem said, Bedibartem el hasela. What God says to Moshe? Talk to the rock. Open sesame, so to speak. Hamavdil, right? And water will come out. What did Moshe Rabbeinu did? The heat. And perhaps, ta'u. Perhaps they made a mistake. ודיברו אל סלע אחר. And they spoke to a different rock. ולא הוציא מים כלל. And nothing helped. They tried once, and then eventually they tried two. ויאמר השם אל משה, consequence of this action, ואל אהרון, יען לא האמנתם בי. You did not believe in me to sanctify Am Israel. You will not bring the Jewish people into the land of Eretz Israel. In this parasha, in this incident, the fate of Moshe and Aharon is sealed. That Moshe Rabbeinu will pass away a bit later, and Aharon HaKohen, Rosh Chodesh Av. And it says, Hema me meriba. The waters of the argument, of the strife, Asher Rabu Bnei Israel et Hashem, that Bnei Israel fought on this with God by Kadesh Sham. And God's name was sanctified in this place. Rashi asks a question. You just finished telling me that the Jewish people fought. Moshe and Aharon, especially Moshe and Aharon, they hit the rock instead of talking to the rock. What kind of Kiddush Hashem is here? Hilul Hashem we have. That Hashem's name was not sanctified, and that's what God's claim against them. Ya'an lo ha'emantem bi le'hakdisheni. There was a great opportunity for once and for all. The Jewish people will understand that I love them and everything that I'm doing is for them. But guess what? You had an opportunity and you blew it. Imagine yourself. You secure an appointment with someone very wealthy, and you have the opportunity to ask anything you want from him. But they tell you, you only have one question to ask. Ask for one thing, whatever that may be. And what question do you ask? How was your trip? When are you leaving? Okay, can I ask you a favor? No, you already asked me the question. So Rashi answers this. And you know what was the Kiddush Hashem? The decree that God made against Moshe and Aharon. Which you may come back with a question. Rabbi, what kind of Kiddush Hashem is that? That is a punishment. That Moshe and Aharon, they perish without going into the land of Eretz Israel. Rashi does not agree with that statement. And it says, you know what the Kiddush Hashem is? That Hashem settles the score even with those that are close to him. Because somebody may say, why God reacted in such an extreme way? Let it go. God says, I'm not going to let it go. Because the consequence of this action is not that Moshe and Aharon hit the rock instead of talking to the rock. This was an opportunity to sanctify the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
But you said Moshe and Aaron hit the rock?
Correct.
I always said it was one.
No, Moshe, but Aharon was there. Yes. Now, you know, just one second. There is a statement from the Talmud that says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu medagdek im hasidav kehut ha'se'ara. Borei Olam, it's meticulous and strict with those who follow him to the T. In other words, Moshe, Aharon, and Miriam. Let's go back a minute to Miriam. In Perashah, Shabbat Shalom. in Perashah ve'alotecha. Miriam is punished with sara'at. For what reason? Because she made a comment about the wife of Moshe. I ask you a question. A, does it justify for her to be punished for making a comment? In our mind, no. But in the Torah's mind, yes. And the Torah sometimes teaches us a lesson through the life of Tzaddikim. The Torah is teaching us a lesson. In the case of Miriam, in the case of Moshe, in the case of Aharon. You need to understand that when you are in a position of leadership, there is a different set of rules. If you have an average person, it's one level. But if you have a position of leadership, not only Moshe, Aaron, and Miriam, as a rabbi, as a teacher, as a father, as a husband, you are in a position of leadership. I know that this class today was combined of different concepts, different topics, and different ideas, and perhaps many of them may have not been the most pleasant. Let's read one more message from Sefer Hasidim, and then I say something, I wrote it, so I'm sure to say it properly, concerning the name of this week's parasha. Message number 1 of Sefer Hasidim discusses seni'ut of the wife. Many times through the Torah, through the Sefarim HaKedoshim, talks about the godliness and the holiness of a Jewish wife, a Jewish mother, a Jewish girl, a Jewish wife. Message number 2. On the day of Shabbat, don't talk to people about dead relatives. Let's say that you see somebody in the synagogue, and Haz v'Shalom, this person on Shabbat is in the middle of the Shiv'ah, or they just got up from the Shiv'ah, and then you start talking about the dead relative. It says, don't talk about it on Shabbat. Kedeh shelo ista'er. Not to cause suffering and pain to the people that lost a relative. And obviously, not only that, it says that on Shabbat, we are allowed to say Shabbat Shalom. But how was it? Bedohak hitiru Shabbat Shalom. If the Hachamim will have the power to impose one more halacha on Shabbat, will be not talking on Shabbat. Don't talk. Ta'anit dibur. Some people do, by the way. And they only talk Torah. Kiddush, tefillah, songs. No other type of conversation. But the Hachamim, they needed to allow it. Why? מפני שהפה טרוד, ברגיל, בלמוד לדבר. How can you control the power of speech? If we are able to pray without engaging in conversation, it's a great accomplishment. Can you imagine not talking on a regular basis for 25 hours? So now that we understand that talking was permissible or permitted because there is no way to make it forbidden, Sefer Hasidim says, be careful when it comes to the topics that we talk on Shabbat. And most of us thought that the only limitation was talking about business or future plans. Here we adding one more component, that you're not allowed to cause someone suffering with your words. And how do you achieve that? Not only in a case of conversing among people, but we're talking about the suffering of losing a close relative. But he said, I only see him on Shabbat. Okay, you tell him, I'm sorry about your loss. Or you sit next to the person quietly the way the Syrian tradition is. But you don't have to start talking, what happened, how did it be, or I remember, all these things, it says, they only are gorem sa'ar. The next topic, it's a known topic for those who know it, but to many people, this may sound very strange. I'm giving you this warning because, can I borrow that Hokle Israel, please? Thank you so much. I don't want to say something that can get lost in the translation. Just give me a moment. This comes again from Sefer Hasidim. This one will be chapter 101. Okay, the Sefer Hasidim mentions the concept of drinking water. I'm not sure if what I'm going to say now applies today. But I do know people who observe this concept till today. What is this? Comes Sefer Hasidim, and he quotes an interesting source in Masechet Hulin and Masechet Tamid. And it says, Hasameh lishtot mayim, a person who wants to drink water. And what happens? In the olden days, the water was an attraction to reptiles and to snakes. That's why there was a takanat hachamim from the time of the Talmud that uncovered water from Shabbat afternoon through Mosai Shabbat, you get rid of it, don't drink it, because of the fear that a poisonous snake may have come into the water and drank from it and released the venom. Now, many people hold that this concept today does not apply because you don't see snakes and waters are on the fridge. But I personally am meticulous in this matter. The same reason why we don't drink water that was exposed overnight. We cover the water, or should be sealed, etc. Lo yevarech be'achar kach yishpoch mehem. So there used to be a tradition, can I have that cup please? That they used to, from the cup of water, not knowing what's inside, they will spill some of it. And two things will happen. If there was something strange, gravity will cause the heaviest to fall off. And also, if there will be a spirit from spiritual angle, also will be gone. So it says, don't say the blessing and then spill a bit of the water, but actually says, spill first. And sometimes I want you to notice certain rabbis who follow Hasidic traditions, what they do, they're not going to do this in front of you. They're going to do exactly what I'm doing now. They turn the cup to the side. Now, Ela shofech mehem, spill a bit out of it, ve'achar kach mevarech beshoteh, and then say the beracha and drink. Also, the teacher should not drink from the cup and give it to the student to drink, ela in ken shafach mehem, unless you throw some water, so if there is any saliva that goes out, shema istenis, who maybe the student is very sensitive, velo ishteh, he will be afraid of drinking because of the saliva possibility, and is embarrassed also to refuse it, beyamut basama, and then, God forbid, thirst may affect the person. I'm only sharing this to create an awareness that these things do exist. Not because we never heard of it and we don't do it, it means that it doesn't exist. Sometimes the person needs to give something to tum'ah. Now I'm talking about in a spiritual way. A person sometimes, for tum'ah, needs to give something away. In this case, it's the water. I'm not happy to finish the class in this way, but I like to say something that I heard. Thank you so much for the hawk. Where is the page that I had here? I need to see the notes. Let me find. I just had it in my hands. Did I? So what happened? Maybe put it into the book. Let me finish looking here. No. In the Hokli Israel? I have it. It got stuck to the book. Okay. I heard this from my dear friend, Rabbi Ephraim Shapiro, that I don't remember the source, but he mentioned something very interesting. If we look at the name of the Perashiot, last week's Korah, this week Hukat, Balak. Listen to the word, Korah, Hukat, Balak. What letter is the common letter in the three titles of the Perashah? Kof. And it says that this Kof reinforces the concept of Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. When we come to the Nagdishach, או ובא לציון, ואתה קדוש יושב תהילות ישראל וקרא זה אל זה ואמר, קדוש, קדוש, קדוש. Holy, holy, holy. Why is there a need for 3 times to the word kadosh? So he explains, kadosh, there are 3 aspects of the kedusha. One is Ben Adam Lamakom, my relationship with God. My relationship with God, how it gears to holiness. The next one is Kedusha al Ara'ah. Kedusha on the planet Earth, meaning to say, interacting with people. Ben Adam lahavero. And the third one is the combination between Shamayim va'ares. One thing is one way, me and Hashem. Another one way, me and you. Me, humans interacting. And the third one is bringing Hashem to the Eres or bringing the Eres to Hashem. For example, I'm going to drink a coffee, I say a beracha. Not only that is Ben Adam Lamakom, beracha is between you and Hashem, but it's also bringing the godliness of Hashem into our physical world, which this is definitely one of the main missions of Am Israel, is to bring Hashem into the world, or to bring the world to Hashem. But to believe for a moment, Kedusha, godliness, and the world are two completely separate entities, this completely not is the proper of the purpose of Kedusha in Am Israel. This is the end of today's class. רבי חנניה בן הקשיא אומר, רצה הקדוש ברוך הוא לזכות את ישראל לפיכך, הרבה להם תורה מזוות שנאמר,